Now we're going to look at the concepts of the domain and range of a relation or of a function. The domain is the set of all values that the input or the x variable can take. Again, the domain is the set of all the values that the input or the x variable can take. And the range is the set of all the values that the output or the y variable can take. The range is the set of all values that the output or the y variable can take. To illustrate, let's go back to our mapping diagram of superheroes and their secret identities. So if the domain is the set of all the values the input variable can take, that means in this case the domain is the set or the collection of these values: Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. So the domain for this function would simply be written, and we use these squiggly brackets to express the domain and the range. We'd write Superman, comma, Batman, comma, Spider-Man, comma. Sorry, not comma, closed squiggly brackets. So we use the squiggly brackets to show that we're talking about a set or a collection of values, and then we just write all the values with a comma in between them. For the range, I'm going to change to blue because that's what I've been using for the output values. For the range, similarly, we would write Clark Kent, comma, Peter Parker, comma, Bruce Wayne. And you'll notice that we haven't matched them up one above each other. Batman doesn't go with Peter Parker. When we're working with numbers, it's common to write them in increasing order. It may sometimes be preferable to write these in alphabetical order, but we're not going to worry about that right now. The idea is that we're listing all the possible x values for the domain and all the possible y values for the range. Let's take a look at another example, this time using numbers. So in this case, the domain is all of the possible x values, and we're going to go in increasing numeric order. So we'd write -5, the next biggest one is 1, 4, 5, 6, and we use the squiggly brackets and separate all the numbers with commas. For the range, we're looking at all the possible y values, and there's only 4 of them. They're 0, 3, 4, and 9. Okay, so the domain, again, is all the possible x values, and the range is all the possible y values. You'll often see notation like this, called set builder notation, when you are working with or looking at answers for domain and range. And this is you need to be familiar with this kind of notation to answer questions about domain and range. So this little E sign stands for element, and all this means is x is an element of, or x belongs to the set of, and the R, like this, means the real numbers. And the real numbers are all the numbers that we are used to working with up to this point. So basically what this is saying is x belongs to the set of all the numbers we're used to working with. In other words, x could be anything. Here, we see x is an element of real numbers. Again, read x is an element of real numbers. And this line means such that. And then we see a bit of a restriction on that. So x is greater than or equal to 3. So x can be anything as long as x is greater than or equal to 3. So this kind of notation would mean x can't be 2, and x can't be -5. It can only be numbers that are greater than or equal to 3. It could be 3. So this kind of notation, called set builder notation, is a shorthand way of, instead of trying to list off an infinite number of numbers, expressing it quickly. This means x can be anything. X is an element of real numbers. This means x can only be numbers that are greater than or equal to 3. We could use the same thing for range, just changing the x's to y's. So that's domain and range.